The Philadelphia Eagles are gearing up for a critical NFC East matchup against the New York Giants, and the headlines this week are absolutely stacked. The team is making some intriguing roster adjustments. Key players are getting healthy, others remain in question, and there are some major conversations swirling around the performance of the offensive line, the state of the running game, and the elite-level play of quarterback Jalen Hurts. Let's dive into what's happening in South Philly as the Birds continue their push through the 2025 season. First up, one of the most notable developments this week was the Eagles officially opening the practice window for cornerback Ja'Cory Bennett. This is a move that could have a major impact on the defense heading into Sunday's game against the Giants at Lincoln Financial Field. What's interesting here is that the team did not open the practice windows for Nolan Smith or Darius Cooper, leaving their return timelines a little murky. With a bye week coming up in Week 9, it would make sense for the Eagles to potentially hold them out until the Week 10 matchup against the Packers, but we'll have to see how things develop. Back to Bennett. He's now eligible to suit up for this Sunday's game, and that might not be a small detail. Defensive coordinator Vic Fangio made some compelling comments earlier this week about how he never really got a full evaluation of Bennett before he went down with a pectoral injury back in Week 3 against the Rams. In that game, he was just starting to get more snaps after barely seeing the field against Dallas and Kansas City. But he made a real impact in Los Angeles, contributing on that wild special teams play where Jordan Davis scooped up the blocked field goal and took it to the house. Just when it looked like Bennett was about to carve out a role in this defense, he landed on injured reserve. So now, Bennett gets another shot, and Fangio seems genuinely curious to get an extended look at him. Remember, the Eagles acquired him from the Raiders right before the regular season began, trying to solidify their depth at cornerback. And based on what he put on tape in Las Vegas, there's definitely something to be excited about. He didn't play a ton due to some injury issues, but when he was on the field, he looked like a guy who could hold his own on the outside. That injury history is something to keep an eye on. Availability is everything, but there's no denying the skill set. Vic Fangio even hinted that Bennett might get a shot to start at the cornerback 2 position as early as this weekend. That's notable because Adoree Jackson is dealing with a concussion, and while Kelee Ringo filled in last week and made some plays, neither of those guys have been solid enough to lock down that job. Fangio said both Ringo and Jackson were victimized by well-designed route concepts, which is true, but also seemed to imply that the coaching staff isn't totally sold on either of them being long-term answers. Enter Ja'Cory Bennett. He's got good instincts, solid footwork, and showed flashes of physical coverage ability. Before his injury in Week 3, he only had 21 coverage snaps, but when he lined up against Puka and Nakua late in that Rams game, he held his own. There was even a moment where he tugged on Nakua's jersey on an out route. It looked like a potential flag, but the refs kept the laundry in their pockets. That level of physicality? You'll take that in the NFL, especially if it doesn't get called. Looking back at his numbers from his time with the Raiders, they're actually impressive. Among cornerbacks with at least 450 snaps in 2024, Bennett allowed only 18 receptions. That was the 3rd fewest in the league. He was targeted 37 times, which tied for 10th, and gave up just 176 receiving yards, the 2nd lowest total of any cornerback. He didn't allow a single touchdown and had 9 pass breakups, tied for 4th among all corners. When quarterbacks threw his way, they posted a passer rating of just 62.4, which ranks 6th. That's elite production. One of the more eye-popping performances came when he faced off against Jamar Chase, one of the best wideouts in the league. In that game, Bennett shadowed Chase and held him to just 3 catches for 16 yards. No touchdowns. He even added a pass breakup in that matchup. Over the course of his 2 seasons with Las Vegas, Bennett started 11 games and tallied 11 pass breakups. The Eagles were already high on him during the draft process back when he came out of Maryland, eventually landing with the Raiders as a mid-round pick. Now they've got him in their building and healthy again. It's time to see what he can do. From an athletic standpoint, Bennett has the traits you want. He's not the biggest guy at 5'10" and 188 pounds, but his speed and explosiveness pop off the screen. He ran a blazing 4.3 flat in the 40-yard dash, had a vertical jump of 40.5 inches, and his broad jump measured over 11 feet. That's elite lower body explosiveness, and it shows in his ability to close on the ball and recover when beaten. Compare that to someone like Keely Ringo, who's bigger and also tested well coming out of Georgia, but struggles a bit with change of direction and flipping his hips. Bennett's twitchiness in those short area situations might give him the edge in Fangio's defense. The Eagles clearly value relative athletic score. It's part of why they drafted so many premium athletes at key positions, and Bennett fits that mold. Even if he's a little on the smaller side, his profile aligns with the type of players this front office tends to believe in. Another factor to consider here is how Bennett's performance could impact other pieces on the back end of this defense. If Bennett proves he can start outside opposite Quinyon Mitchell, that allows the Eagles to keep Cooper DeJean inside, where his versatility shines. Fangio has said multiple times how much he loves what DeJean can do in the slot, covering, blitzing, run support, you name it. And if Bennett doesn't pan out, that's where a potential reunion with C.J. Gardner-Johnson could come into play. Slot him in as a nickel defender, keep DeJean outside, and still let Andrew Mukuba develop at safety, although that's been a bit of a roller coaster ride so far. Mukuba's had his moments, with a couple of interceptions and some solid plays in the run game, but he's also had his fair share of breakdowns in coverage. Fangio even admitted it's been a rocky start for the rookie. The coaching staff sees the upside, but the development curve is still very real. Having someone like Gardner-Johnson in the mix could allow the Eagles to protect Mukuba a bit while still giving him meaningful reps in the right situations. And let's not forget what Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean just did against Justin Jefferson. In that Week 7 win over the Vikings, they combined to allow only 2 catches for 28 yards across 27 coverage snaps when lined up against Jefferson. DeJean even forced an incompletion in the end zone on a potential touchdown. That's high-level stuff, especially against a receiver like Jefferson who's capable of taking over games. And get this, DeJean hasn't allowed a touchdown in coverage since college. That's insane. We're talking about a rookie playing like a seasoned vet in one of the most demanding roles on the field. There's also a fun little historical note here. The last time the Eagles drafted cornerbacks in the first and second rounds was back in 2002 when they took Lito Shepherd and Sheldon Brown, 2 guys who went on to become one of the best corner duos in the league. Fast forward to 2024, and the Eagles once again landed their top 2 cornerback targets in Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Could we be witnessing the formation of the next great Eagles secondary? It sure feels like it. While we're on the topic of roster moves, there was another one that could have some sneaky importance. Sua Opeta is back in Philadelphia. That's right, the veteran offensive lineman has returned to the Birds after a couple of seasons with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's been signed to the practice squad, but don't be surprised if he's active soon given the state of this offensive line. Opeta started his career with the Eagles, worked his way up through the ranks, and even started a few games. He was seen as a rising player at one point, but injuries and limited opportunities derailed his run with Tampa Bay. Now he's back in a familiar system under offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland, and that familiarity could be key because the Eagles' interior line has been a real problem so far this season. It's honestly shocking how underwhelming this group has been, especially when you consider the pedigree of the players involved. Landon Dickerson hasn't played up to his usual standard. Cam Jurgens has been dealing with injuries, and you can tell he's still not 100%. Tyler Steen has filled in here and there, but it's clearly a drop-off for what the Eagles are used to in the trenches. The result? A running game that was once among the most dominant in the NFL is now near the bottom of the league in just about every metric. And that brings us to Saquon Barkley. Is he washed? Is he hurt? Has he lost a step? From what we're seeing, it's not about Barkley's physical ability. He still looks explosive. He still has that burst and quickness. But the offensive line isn't giving him anything to work with. The numbers don't lie. He's getting hit in the backfield constantly. The Eagles rank near the bottom of the league in yards before contact and have one of the highest stuffed run percentages in football. This line simply isn't opening lanes, and Barkley is paying the price. When you look at what's going wrong with this Eagles running game, it's impossible to ignore the trench warfare happening up front. What used to be a position of pure dominance has now become a source of constant frustration. The same offensive line that bullied defenses last season can't seem to generate any push this year. And that's not just a matter of perception. The numbers back it up across the board. This is a unit that used to set the tone with physicality and consistency. Now, they're struggling to even hold their ground. Let's talk about the data for a moment. Last season, Saquon Barkley was nearly unstoppable. Through the first 7 games of the year, he had over 760 rushing yards on a ridiculous 5.9 yards per carry. He led the league in touches, but you wouldn't know it from how fresh and explosive he looked. The Eagles' offense revolved around his ability to create big plays and keep the chains moving. He was the Offensive Player of the Year, and for good reason. Fast forward to this season, and it's like we're watching a completely different team. Barkley's stats have taken a massive hit. Just over 360 yards on 113 carries. That's a 3.3 yard per carry average, nearly cut in half from a year ago. He has not had a single game with 100 scrimmage yards, which is mind-blowing considering how dangerous he was last season. He's found the end zone just 3 times on the ground. The drop-off is stark, and people are asking questions. But the tape tells the truth. Barkley still has that first step burst. He still has the speed to turn the corner, and he's shown flashes of the balance and vision that made him elite. The problem is what's happening at the line of scrimmage. Too often, Barkley is getting hit immediately after the handoff. Plays are being blown up in the backfield before they even have a chance to develop. It's not that Barkley has forgotten how to run. It's that he's working with nothing in front of him. Let's break down the most damning stat of all: yards before contact. Last season, Barkley averaged 3.8 yards before being touched by a defender. That means he was nearly 4 yards downfield on most runs before contact even arrived. That's a product of elite offensive line play, creating clean lanes and giving the back a chance to build momentum. This year, that number is down to 1.8. That's a full 2 yards, 6 feet of lost space. And over time, that adds up in a major way. The result is fewer big plays, more short gains, and more negative plays. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Philadelphia is buzzing with excitement, and the streets near Lincoln Financial Field are alive with speculation. Could Marcus Williams, the electrifying star everyone has been talking about, finally be an Eagle? Sources close to the team hint that talks are heating up, and whispers in the locker room suggest that something big is on the horizon. Eagles fans are holding their breath, imagining the impact of adding a player of Williams' caliber to a roster already hungry for success. While no official announcement has been made, the rumor mill is running wild. Social media accounts dedicated to team news are flooded with speculation, theories, and countdowns, with fans dissecting every tiny piece of news that could hint at a signing. The excitement is palpable. The idea of Williams patrolling the field in green and white has sparked dreams of game-changing plays, defensive dominance, and highlight reels that will leave opponents reeling. Analysts are already predicting how his presence could reshape the Eagles' strategy, adding both firepower and flair to a team eager to reclaim glory. Inside sources suggest that Williams has been in close contact with team management, and while contracts and official paperwork remain a mystery, the chemistry seems undeniable. Rumors hint that the player himself is intrigued by the city's energy and the fervent fan base that lives and breathes Eagles football. Conversations with former teammates and coaches hint at Williams being ready for a fresh challenge, and Philadelphia, with its passionate and sometimes demanding sports culture, could be the perfect stage for him to elevate his career to new heights. Fans are already dreaming. Jerseys with his name are trending online. Fan groups are planning rallies, and speculation about the starting lineup is dominating sports talk. Whether this is a final deal or just the beginning of a dramatic chase, one thing is certain. The Eagles' universe is electric, and Marcus Williams is at the center of the storm. Stay tuned, because if the rumors prove true, the city of Philadelphia may be on the brink of witnessing one of the most talked-about arrivals in recent memory. Eagles in celebration? Absolutely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, Be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.